So here we are again. It's a what's inside the box, and today I'm going to take the lid off the MKS-20. So here we go. Let's get the screwdriver out. Now what's really unusual about the rack ears on this unit is normally Roland rack ears are have three mounting points. So they normally have a top, a middle and a bottom. This is interesting because this has 4 mounting points in a diamond. Not seen that before, but we'll carry on unscrewing. Well, I have to admit that's probably one of the easiest units I've ever taken to pieces. In terms of actually getting into the unit, it was the screws by the rack ears on the side here, and then 3 screws on either side underneath. And then the cover just slides back off it. Very interesting. Very interesting indeed. So, I did in a video, I talked about this I can't remember if it was this week or last week, where I talked about whether multi-windings on the transformer. Now, I'm going to sort of try and move this up to the camera so you can see this. But this is what I was talking about Roland transformers being pretty much bulletproof. So the way this works here is this is a 240 volt version, so there is a pin there for 240, but the actual transformer itself is wired for 220, 117, 100, and then obviously this is the common rail. So depending on what voltage you're in, you effectively solder onto one of those pins, and the transformer itself is already pre-wired, which is one of the things I did wonder about this unit, but it looks like it's got a typical Roland bulletproof transformer in it. There you go. Question answered. Now, the owner, or the previous owner to this, said that this was crackling a bit when it started up, which could indicate a problem on the power circuitry. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to go and get another light. What I've done is just got an LED light. While I've got studio lights above me, but I just want to really have a look at the circuitry in here to see if I can see any signs of wear, because it was a little bit in shadow. And I'll be honest with you, that power board looks absolutely clean. Now I did a piece about 2 weeks ago, I think it was, on recapping. So I'm just going to switch that off for a sec. And if you were going to recap this, potentially, these are the capacitors that you would be looking to recap from a power supply point of view. And there's the battery thing there. Okay, and this is the ROM, or the operating system of this particular unit, which is 1.3, I think, if I'm reading that correctly. Looks a little less clean when you get towards the back here. The front of this unit looks absolutely squeaky clean, but the back of this unit looks a little bit That's really interesting, isn't it? So the front of this unit, that chip there is labelled up MKS-20. As I say, I think that's 1.3 is the firmware version on it. And there's a second chip sitting over the back here, which is a Toshiba chip. In fact, they're both Toshiba chips. And this one's labelled up RD-1000 MKS-20, and that one is 1.1. Very interesting. Let's say that we get towards the back of this, and it's a little bit less clean. That's very clean. That's very clean. But this bit here, I wonder why that at the back would be less clean. I don't know. What's really interesting as well about this is looking inside the unit. Is this unit seems to be. There's obviously a motherboard there. There's a board here. So this is CPU board B. That's CPU board A. So this is the Roland digital piano board. Very interesting. I'm just interested in the way they constructed this. And then what's in here? It's very interesting. Let's see if we can get in there, shall we? Back to screwdriver. Okay, so another few screws, 1, 2, 3 at the back, one there, and these 3 screws that go along the front panel. And off comes the back to reveal yet another board. Let's put it down there for a sec. I'll give those a wipe over in a minute. Actually, what's interesting about this board, as you can see, it's got a little bit rusty there. There's a little bit of rust down here which we'll treat. I probably won't do it on this video, but I will just get rid of that rust. Well, the fact that there are 3 boards in here explains a lot when I was trying to look this up on the internet. And one of the things I was struggling with is I kept seeing different boards and I couldn't work out which was the right assembly for this unit. But having now opened it up, there is a board on this side which is labelled the MKS effect board, so I'm assuming this board is what does all the effect processing for the unit. This board obviously here, which does again look a little bit dirty, not a lot, is obviously the audio and the input outputs for the unit. As I say, this has just got a little bit of rust on it. And then if we turn it over like so, so you're looking at this, obviously this board here is the data cartridge interface. There is this front board here which is where the battery is, so there's some sort of logic and volatile circuitry there by the looks of it. I'm not going to take this to pieces any further. Then there's this board in the middle here which just has an RD-1000 assembly written on it, and 3 Roland chips. So this board here is tied to the back board. That looks like power. That goes into here. But it does explain why, when I was looking at this online, I was struggling to find the right board. I kept showing different pieces. Anyway, so just so you can put this up to the camera and you can see. So the MKS-20 inside the box is a very, very beefy and robust power supply which sits down this, what would be my right hand side, but your left hand side to camera. Then we have 2 CPU boards. One of those boards seems to be a dedicated MKS-20 board. The second of these boards seems to be the Roland digital piano, the RD-1000 piano board by the looks of it. And again, as I said, this one's a bit dirty, so I'm not quite sure where the dirt's come in from it. And then there's a third board in the centre here, which I don't know what it is, but it's got some dedicated Roland chips, and it all seems to be linked back to here. I'm wondering whether that's sort of some additional ROM memory, but I'm no expert on this. I'd have to go and look those chips up. Interesting. The other interesting thing is common features on here. So I said earlier on when I opened this up and had a look at it, this is definitely an MKS-20 chip. It's got MKS-20 written on it. This one's got RD-1000 and MKS-20 written on it. So it's obviously operable across both units. And again, it looks like some sort of firmware on that unit. And then this one here, down here, is an RD-1000 MKS-20 HP550. So there was a bunch of components that looked like they were interoperable between the 550 and the RD-1000 and the MKS-20. And then, as I said, if we then go and turn this unit around without dropping it, like so, on the back we have this big effects board. I'm assuming it's effects because that's what it says on here, effect board. So there's a big effect board on here with lots of pieces on here. This is one where Marcus Fuller would have a field day, wouldn't he, telling you everything was on here. I'm just interested in looking at the state of the circuitry and whether there's anything obviously that would cause the crackle. And I can't see anything that obviously caused the crackle that he's referred to. Nothing looks unduly damaged from a power perspective, apart from it's a little bit dirty. Oh well, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give that backboard a clean and then we'll put it back together. Now the question is, there's a piece of felt fallen out there. I have no idea where that has just come from. Okay, so while off camera, I'm just giving this a quick clean. I know people say sometimes you shouldn't do it, but dust can be a real downer for electrical circuits because it can short circuit something. So if you do see a lot of dust on a circuit, it's probably worth getting the keyboard cleaner out and just giving it a quick vacuum, which is what I've just done. As you can see, all the dust now has disappeared from this chip here, or this board here, which was dusty. This one wasn't, it's fine. But for the life of me, I have not got a clue where this piece has come from. There's nothing obvious, I should say, where this would have come from. I'll tell you what is really interesting is the size of these jumper cables. They are a fairly chunky base. Anyway, I'm going to put it back together now. So, hope you enjoyed looking at the inside of my latest acquisition, which is the MKS-20, the piano module from Roland. So as I said, what I noticed is this leading edge has just got a little bit of surface rust on it. So it's obviously been exposed to moisture at some point. So here's a quick tip of how to, if it's just surface rust, how you can get rid of it. This is normal tin foil, and what you do is you just rub the tin foil up and down on the rust, and it will lift it. That was a tip that was given to me by a bathroom fitter, actually. So there you go, after a couple of minutes of just rubbing this with silver foil, you can see most of the surface rust has now disappeared. Now you might think, why am I bothered about that? Well, on these sort of panels, when rust starts to get underneath, it tends to bubble up the anodized, because these are anodized, it tends to bubble that up, and it sort of like then can just effectively spread underneath the paintwork or underneath the anodized unchecked. So while I've seen it, I've caught it and made it ready for reinstallation. Just a quick tip, that one. There you go, Roland digital piano MKS-20 all back together, and I still have no idea where this bit came from. Till next time, bye. So this is the point in the video where I turn around to you and say, if you enjoyed the contents of this video, please give it a thumbs up. It allows other people to find this content more easily that you have enjoyed. I'm sure by now, if you didn't like the content of the video, you've probably given me a thumbs down, but I'd prefer if you didn't. If you'd like to be notified about when I post additional content to this channel, somewhere about here should be the subscription icon. So please click on there and subscribe to the channel. Over here should be other content that you may enjoy that I've already done or posted to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again.